Welcome to Ask a Celebrant, a conversational podcast answering your questions relating to all the commemoration and celebrations of all the chapters of your life. I'm Berni B, full life celebrant.
And I'm Dinah Liversidge.
Hi everyone, welcome to episode 2 of Ask a Celebrant. There was a phenomenal response to episode 1, and we were asked lots of questions that related to weddings and celebrations of love, weddings, vow renewals, those types of things where people have been so stressed over the last 2 years because of cancellations and restructuring, having to change their plans, change their locations, whatever. And we've been asked about what is important. I think people are readdressing, Dinah. Yeah. I think people are readdressing what is important. And those days of this need to have this big showy wedding, and that is fine if you do. I mean, yeah, great, do go for it. But that need to do that, or that desire to do that, is not as top of the list anymore. People are really realizing they just want to celebrate their love for their partner and their appreciation and their commitment. And so, yeah, we get that, don't we? Because we have long relationships and partners we adore, and that we want to remember and remind often how important they are to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I have to say, on some level, I'm quite pleased to see that people are asking, what are the alternatives? There's this huge number of people that have actually been really stressed and very let down, and the ripple effect for those venues, for all the suppliers, you know, it's been devastating for the whole industry that work to make those weddings so special. So everybody has felt that impact. But what's also happened over the last few years, I'm pleased to see, is we've started to talk about the impact of weddings on the environment.
Yeah,
so I've got couples asking, how do I do my wedding without having the most massive carbon footprint, frankly? You know, I want to know those alternatives because it doesn't feel right. And as we look at, you know, you and I both try and avoid looking at the news because, frankly, it's no fun at the moment. But if you do look at what's happening financially for lots and lots of families and business owners, we are going to have to think differently about celebrations in general, because that kind of money that was available is not going to be available. We're going to need it for more important things. And add to that the whole, we were let down and we don't want to be let down again. And I think people feel really differently about, how can I do this in a way that we can say, look what we did, isn't that wonderful? We want to move forward, but we've kind of changed our focus on it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, lower key or smaller and more intimate, or more environmentally considerate does not mean bland, boring, cheap. You know, it can be, you can have an amazing, and you know, I specialize a lot in the smaller
micro weddings,
as you really, do, the micro weddings, and you know, what I call the non-wedding. We can talk about that later. And you know, the alternative celebrations where really the focus is on the couple, throuple, whoever it is that are celebrating their commitment to each other, and making the celebration intimate, unique, like a real breath of fresh air. It's like you've done all this, you've survived this, or you've got to a point in your relationship and you think, right, I wouldn't have got here, I wouldn't have achieved this if it wasn't for this person,
relationship, this
relationship. This has made this journey so much easier, so much more special. I have this gratitude, I have this love for this person, and I just really want to focus on that. I want them to know how important that they are to me, And there are some people that I want to witness that, because they matter to me so much too. And what you're celebrating in a wedding, you're joining your families, and you're making a commitment to each other publicly, and you can do that in a marriage anyway if you want to sign the papers. But for us, that joining, that service, that ceremony is about two people, or three people if it's a trouble, telling each other why they love each other, what they have done, how they enhance their life, what is important to them about their journey, and why they want to continue it into the next chapter.
I love that you say that. One of my favorite couples for a long time, who I'm working with at the moment, and obviously I won't break any confidences, but one of the nicest couples I've worked with in such a long time. They're so adoring of each other. And they don't do massive public displays of affection. It's just not who they are. I know what that's like. I'm married to somebody who doesn't do big public displays of affection.
No.
And to get to work with people who say, do you know what? I'm going to push myself out of my comfort zone to tell everybody who matters to me how much you matter to me. It gives me goosebumps, because this is two people saying, you all know that we don't do this, but we're going to do this because we care so much about each other. I look at them and I just know they're going to be together forever and ever, because they get each other on the most glorious level, and neither one wants the other to be pushed any further than is absolutely critical to them, to say, okay, look guys, this is how much this person matters to me. And it is about you and whoever you're making that commitment to. And the idea of marriage was actually something that was only ever part of the uber wealthy rich at the very, very highest levels of court, the people who owned the property and the land. And really it was a bit of a prenup. It was saying, we're uniting two bits of property and bits of land. If it doesn't work out, don't you forget who they belong to. And the difference for the working classes was that we said, we're not doing it for that. We're doing it to say we love each other. So they never had a marriage ceremony. They had a unity ceremony of one type or another. And as you and I know, as modern celebrants, one of the most fun things we get to do is create new ceremonies that nobody's ever had before.
Well, to be fair, at the moment, with celebrants, with independent celebrants, humanist celebrants, well, all of us, we actually do unity ceremony. The marriage, the legal bit, the bit that is the contract, that is done elsewhere. You spend your 80 quid, you go and sign the bits of paper, you've done that. What we do is we help you celebrate the reasons why you want to be together. And you can do our unity and joy full ceremony without even bothering with the legal bit. I mean, the legal bit, as you say, is a contract. It might be important to you if you have a faith. You might want to do it because you want to be joined in the eyes of your God. But if you just want to commit to one another, you can have a wonderful celebration ceremony with a celebrant any way you want, any way you want, to demonstrate whatever it is that's important to you. Obviously, you've got the traditional things like vow renewals or wedding celebrations, where you are saying to one family and the other, we are committing to move together for our future life. You've got that, but there are so many other reasons to have a unity celebration and a celebration of love. And you've done loads, haven't you? You do them quite often in your beautiful starlit venue.
Oh, I have to say, I don't remember quite how I came up with the idea, but doing a vow or a promise renewal under the stars is just about the most fun I've ever had as an adult. It's so special. And what has happened every time we've done this so far is that halfway through talking, somebody in the group will go, oh, look, and a shooting star will appear.
I know,
or
magic,
they'll
isn't
notice the Milky Way. Or, but yeah, you're right. It's what I love is that actually couples want choice because they want to be able to express love in a way that feels authentic.
Yeah.
You know, I think back to my wedding. We got married on John's 21st birthday in a registry office in Woking. The whole ceremony was over in 15 minutes. I certainly couldn't tell you the name of my registrar. I don't remember. I didn't know I could have had anything else. I didn't know that. Because
there wasn't much else, to be fair.
No, I mean, certainly back then I'd never heard of a celebrant.
No.
And so I think that, and you and I have talked about this a lot, I think the most magical, wonderful thing has been my life with John, not the wedding we had.
Yeah.
And so I see it from when we get the chance to create a ceremony for a couple who are saying, or throuple, who are saying, this is it. I'm committing my life to you. Come hell or high water, come great times, come opportunities, come challenges, come all the niggles and the things I'm going to do to wind you up. We're in this for the long term.
Yeah. And you can do them more than once. That's the thing. I think in a lifetime, I mean, you particularly, but myself, as you journey along your path with your partner, you face challenges. They might be health related, they might be finance related, they might be family related, that you might up sticks and move to a different country, but you overcome that, and you might change your career or whatever, and that other person is there helping you grow through it, surviving it with you, growing with you, enabling you to achieve what you've achieved. And I think at the end of each phase, we should, we as couples should not just remember to say thank you and go out for dinner and say thanks, that was great. I think we should make more of it. We should be able to say, wow, that bit of our journey was awesome, terrible, whatever it was, we survived it because of each other. I want to promise you that I still love you as much despite or because of or whatever. And I want us to take a moment, a proper moment, and really mark it and thank one another and remind each other why we're so important to each other. And you can do that with a celebrant. You can create, because we don't have, or you said something really interesting to me earlier, and it was about when people ask you how many of these you've done, you say I haven't done any.
I haven't done any because every ceremony I do is completely unique. It's always my first ceremony. That's how I view this, because genuinely we start with a blank sheet of paper. There is no, do you want section A, B, C, and D? Tick the paragraphs you want included. That's not how this works. This is about you. And getting the chance to work with people to say, we think we're a bit different. We think what we want is perhaps never done before. That's gorgeous. This last week, I walked around our little woodland here with a couple who knew that they would know when they felt it was the right spot in the woods. And I watched them walk towards a little triangle right near our stream and pond. And I always feel in that space really, really in love with where I live and nature and the calmness of it all. And the moment they stepped into that triangle, they both looked at me and smiled and went, oh yeah, this is us.
Oh,
I just thought,
that's amazing.
Wow, isn't that the best job in the world?
Yeah.
And so being able to say to somebody who is integral, I've always hated that whole, this is my other half. No, you're a whole and they're a whole. You're just whole together. really, really well. But there is a real sense when you've been together a long time. Yes, we're individual, but a bit like the trees and the way their roots grow interconnected, you function better as a unit than as two individuals. And that's worth celebrating.
Absolutely. You can have your individual lives within that partnership, and then there will be things where they're entwined and things you would never have done or learnt about or known about had you not been in a partnership with that other person. So you know, a healthy, good relationship is one that grows you as an individual and makes you feel you're the best self that you are.
Absolutely. I remember hearing somebody ask John many years ago, so, you know, we all know what Dinah wants. What do you want? And he just looked at him and smiled and said, I want her to be happy. And I remember thinking, God, I'm genuinely the luckiest person in the world. And then I realised, do you know what? That's how I feel about him. That's a partnership. And this ability to change for each other's dreams, to take on things that matter. I mean, you and I are the kind of people who are constantly finding new, exciting, that looks interesting. I'm going to go down that path. And these amazing partners have gone, okay, I can see why you do that. I'll go with you. And whatever the outcome is, I'll be right there next to you. That should be celebrated as often as possible. And you're right, the temptation is to say, okay, you know what, I'll be conscious of you, I'll bring gratitude into my relationship, I'll acknowledge you regularly, we'll put date night back in, all that stuff. But to actually say, no, this needs more. We need to stop and say, let's mark this moment.
John and I had a celebration. We're not actually married. We've been together 27 and a half years now, so it's a long time. We are entwined in our relationship. But when we got to 20 years, we had a celebration. But when we got to 25 years, we had an occasion, and we had a big event, and we called it 25 Years of Happily Unmarried Bliss.
Yes.
And we made promises to each other in front of our friends in a space that meant something really important to us, that we enjoyed to be together. And we said something and had those moments where we expressed why, acknowledged our journey and why the other person is so integral to it, and our future, what we're looking for together in the future. And I think it's the best thing ever, you know. And just that, you know, we can look back at that as you would a wedding, you know, and you know, if you there are lots of reasons to do one, isn't there? You know, what if you have survived a major operation, or you have had a traumatic birth, and you know, and or your partner has been made redundant and you have had to deal with that, and you have, you know, those are reasons to celebrate your love, you know, not dwell on the fact that you've had all that trauma, but the fact that you have survived it, you have grown despite it, and that you are grateful to the other person for their love, for their commitment, for their strength, for their, you know, for all of.
And I think also that thing that as British people we're really bad at doing, which is celebrating our successes.
Oh God, we should do that all the time.
We hate doing that because that might be showing off. But you know, I know an author recently who had her 10th book published, and she asked her husband, not husband actually, 40 years of unwedded bliss for them. She asked him, can we have a big ceremony to mark this? And he said, well, yeah, of course, you're amazing, we should absolutely mark this. And she said, no, I want to mark our partnership, because we got those books written, not me.
Yeah.
And of course, she's absolutely right. I mean, everything stops when you're writing a book. But of course, the world doesn't. So he had kept their world going while she got to do this incredible thing. And they mark that as a, you know what, when we're not calling it a vow renewal, we're going to do this as a way of saying thank you to each other.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely gorgeous thing to do. So
Yeah.
mark our successes, I think. And those don't have to be, 20 years, 30 years. No. I think they can be massively around other people. So I did the most gorgeous unity ceremony recently for a family who have adopted a child they've been fostering. And all of them are now a family unit. And we wanted to mark that by each of them sharing why they love each other. And for kids to be involved in something like that, I found really very moving, but also what a beautiful way to be bringing up children to feel comfortable talking about love.
So I agree so much. I mean, my goodness, I think the way that you can do that is you pick a location that is important, relevant to you. That can be your garden. It can be the local pub. It can be a barn, a hall, or whatever that is beautiful that you've always walked in. It doesn't have to. You don't have to go out and find some flashy venue that just because it can hold 2,000 people.
No, exactly.
Pick somewhere that means something to you as a couple. The beach, the riverside. Because with a celebrant, you can be anywhere. Include the people that matter. Include the objects that matter.
Yes.
Let your celebrant, or do it yourself, let your celebrant help you express why you love each other, what you are grateful for with each other, the promises. But if you want to include other people and their stories of what they think of you and why you are so great together, do that. Celebrate that love, celebrate that moment, bookmark it, put that full stop down, bookmark it, open the door to the next chapter, and make a thing of it. Love and unity is, just
big time.
God.
I think one of the nicest ceremonies I've been asked to be involved with recently, and I had never heard of anybody doing this, and I thought it was gorgeous. A couple came to me who got engaged. They went to university together. They're now in their mid-20s. They're ready. They've known each other since they were about 10 or 11. It's absolutely gorgeous. And they're ready to set a date because they do want to have a wedding. They've organised the formal date for their marriage at a registry office. And they said, the thing we actually would really like you to do is we would like a ceremony that acknowledges that my mum and dad and his dads, because he has 2 dads, have inspired our relationship. The commitment they've shown each other has been remarkable to us. We've learned how to love another person, how to listen to another person, how to put other people's needs above our own. These 2 sets of parents have been absolutely gorgeous. And we want a ceremony that says thank you to them for allowing us to have the relationship that we've got, and we'd like you to write something to celebrate that. I think that is beautiful.
Oh my God. I'd love to do those every day. That sounds that is like the best, and we do. I mean, I look back at my parents and John's parents, and they are both, couples that met as teenagers and survived everything together, poverty, trauma, their entire lives. My parents are still alive and still together. Sadly, John's aren't, and but they helped us become the people we are. And to the idea of
acknowledge that and celebrate it.
I
think the one thing I had when I look back at our funny, tiny little registry office wedding was that the wedding ring John put on my finger had been on my grandmother's finger for 62 years.
Wow.
And at their diamond wedding, they had a gorgeous party to celebrate, and they were holding hands under the table. And I just remember thinking, relationship goals, and now here I am with my 37 years and counting. And
And I bet your daughter looks at you and your John, we both got John, and thinks, because of you, I know what it means to value somebody else.
Absolutely.
And how to express that.
And how to listen. I think listening skills in a relationship, we're not, the stuff we're not taught at school that we should be taught. There's one of them. Life isn't actually all about you. Learn to take a step back and listen. If you really want to share a path with somebody, see them, hear them, give them space. And when you do and it works, it's worth celebrating because it's remarkable.
And on the converse of that, of course, is that, there are lots and lots of couples who have managed to obtain that, where one of them hasn't had the luxury of such a positive upbringing, or both of them haven't, and they have managed to navigate that journey together. And that's a massive achievement. And they, and a real loving, you have made this amazing partnership. Not only have you should be celebrating what you have managed to overcome, but what your partner, how proud you are of your partner for overcoming what they've overcome and how they've helped you in that journey. And I think, let's celebrate all this love and all this mutual growth. And, there are so many things in my life I would have never, ever managed to do without John. So many things. I would never be living here if it wasn't for him. I would have plodded along quite happily where I was. And we've set up a whole new life, which is, better is not, so much more fulfilling, so much more honest and authentic and real than before. And we've done that together. I'd have never been brave enough to move and set up a B&B and become an artist and if it wasn't for him. But I would have never had the resources and the luxury of retraining, giving up my day job, retraining as a celebrant, becoming my true authentic self, where I do what really inspires and I'm passionate about. If he hadn't been stood there in the background going, no, it's all right, I'll do this and I'll do that, don't worry about that, I've got that, you are worth that and you will be great at it. So I want to celebrate and tell him that. And I think at some point, Dinah, we will be at yours having a starlit vow renewal, because because he deserves it, and I tell him it's not the same as taking that moment, and I'd really like to do it. There's an announcement. I haven't told him yet, so when he listens to this, John, would you like to do a starlit vow renewal with me at the charcoal hut with Dinah as our celebrant? I would love to do that with you.
And I would be really, really honoured to be your celebrant.
I'm going to cry now.
Yeah, me too. That was wonderful. See, this is what we're talking about. This is the whole thing. This is that, of course, you're emotional, because you know what? It is worth celebrating. What you have is so precious. And, without wanting to put a downer on our conversation in any way, you and I see both ends of life as celebrants. And the worst sentence that ever comes out of somebody's mouth when we're working with them to help write something about the person they've lost is when they say, if only I'd said this before they died. I wish I'd told them. We have to tell people while they're here, because we just don't know.
No.
We have to. Every single day it is the basic stuff. I remember thinking when we first got married and kind of the light goes out at night, night babe, love you, night babe, love you. I remember thinking, oh my goodness, we're in a soap opera. Are we going to do this every night? This is hideous. And then you begin to realise, no, this is glorious. I never, ever want to go to sleep at night and turn that light off and not hear him say, "Night, gorgeous, I love you."
Yeah.
Because it is integral to how I feel, how I operate, what I feel like when I get up tomorrow, my desire to overcome difficulties. All of it is tied up in him telling me that and me knowing that.
God, we're lucky, aren't we?
Are we lucky? And so, yes, it's emotional, and it should be, because it is a really big deal. But the celebration of it doesn't have to break the bank. It doesn't have to involve 2 years of planning and hundreds of people and you being stressed. No. If that isn't authentic for you, there are alternatives. And I hope we've kind of shown you that today, that they can
get out there and celebrate,
whatever
make a thing
you want
of it.
them to be. Yeah.
Celebrate love, celebrate unity, celebrate partnership, but do it in your own unique, authentic, stress-free way.
Yes. Thanks, Bernie. I've loved our conversation today.
Oh God, yeah. I've had a revelation. So we'll be talking about that.
We will. I'm emotional now. I want to go and, it's a bit early really for champagne, but I kind of want to go and crack a bottle of champagne now.
I know.
I can't wait for you to show the recording to John. And everybody, we can't wait to talk to you again next month. Do send us your questions. We love hearing from you. The best way to connect with both of us really is through our Instagram accounts. Mm-hmm. Bernie, what's yours?
Alternative Celebrant.
And I'm Dinah Celebrant. So you'll find us. We'd love to hear your questions.
Too emotional to remember then. Oh my God.
Wonderful. Thank you, gorgeous. Loved it today.
Talk to you soon. Much love. Bye.
Bye. Ask a Celebrant is unscripted, and we base it on the questions we receive from our clients and you, our listeners. We'd love to hear from you. Do join the conversation.
See you next month.